Salute, salute, salute. We are back in the studio. Late, but never, what's the word I'm looking for? Without it. But we in this mug, man. So look. Y'all see what my title say, right? Because my infamous co-host is not here. And I know she's going to watch this too. That's why I'm saying this in the beginning, because I know she's going to cut it off after she see this part. But what Mo going to do? I think the audience want to know. I think the audience deserve to know. What is Mo going to do? So this is her call out to see if she going to stay with us, man, because if she don't show up next weekend, then we're going to have to do some adjustments. And it just be like that. All right, but anyway, listen. So I'm here, you know what I'm saying, as normal. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make it about the brains. Y'all see what it is. If you like to, you can donate to that Cash App, YouTube, like, share, subscribe, all that, Facebook, share it, you know how we get down. And we back. So many things are happening all over the worldscape. Like, it's crazy. So crazy. If you're in the community, because now they're like doing like this this whole attack on woke type thing. So that's really an attack on the spiritual community. But that won't work either. So there's so many things going on, and if you're a part of that community, then I'm pretty sure you've been paying attention to how certain events have been happening, the world's been shifting around, and things have been moving in correspondence or in tandem to each other. Like, it's been crazy. Okay? So I'm only here to, just have a brief conversation on the things that I've seen, especially over the past week. My week has been pretty eventful, even though kind of stationary. You know what I'm saying? A lot has gone on. My family dynamic, R.I.P. Unc. We lost a family member. He was a great one. And just other things, having a family bond and things like that. So it's been good. But while doing that, I've also been paying attention to the way the world has been moving and shifting and moving and shifting. Certain events around certain people and the more commonly known now afflictions that are happening on a daily basis. It's always something. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it. You know what I'm saying? And don't think that we coming on here with like no, what's the word they like to say? Like conspiracists, you know what I'm saying? Conspiracy theory, nothing like that. It's like we have to, at some point, especially if you under the sound of my voice, because I'm noticing like it's, certain people. So by this point, if you're under the sound of my voice, then you know full on how I approach and the things that I discuss. So that means that you're supposed to be here. So at this point, we should be paying attention to the signs that are being given to us, and then seeking knowledge about those signs and seeking to decipher those things and paying attention into the world around us, because the Spirit is leaving signs and clues for those that are truly awakened. It's not about woke. See, one thing the government always gonna do, I don't even call it the government, but the system, the powers that were, dying enemy, whatever you want to call the frequency, what it's going to do is it's always going to give you a piece of the truth in order to fabricate the fiction. So now that people are awakening, now we have to give you woke. You see how they condense it down and make it less powerful. You're not awakening anymore. You're woke. And then they can make a joke out of woke because it really has no energy. So how can we get you to attach your attention into this dimension with us? Okay. It's always about this push and pull when it comes between the spirit and those that are trying to still grip and hang on to this finite reality that we call 3D life. The spirit is always supreme. And the only reason I'm giving this type of like opening statement in the beginning is to help people understand the context of why paying attention is so important. So you gotta understand something. 2024, which is the symbology of 8, is all about taking action. In order for something to take action, it needs power. Okay? Power sources we know come from different places or whatever. However, inside of this being, there's only one power source that you can pull from, a power supply, as far as keeping life energy going and then maximizing said DNA structure within the third dimension. Okay? Pulling these powers into yourself are going to begin to unlock the matrix mindset around you. Okay. And there's a few people out there that's like talking about this, you know what I'm saying? And I like to give my shout outs because like shout out, and you can tag them in this, you know what I'm saying, if you hear their name, but shout out like Conjure Queen. She like giving people techniques and things to do for themselves while also speaking about what's going on. My girl Lisa Cabrera, I think I mentioned her last time. She's pretty in-depth about current events and how to tie those things into the reality of melanated people. My boy B. Dale, he's pretty good at pulling from certain dimensions and frequencies and bringing those things down to a layman term sort of acknowledgement. And there's many others. There's Yaki Awakening. There's many other people that are coming online to speak and to teach about certain things. And the reason these people are coming online is due to the same energy that is also bringing a certain destruction. Now, the spirit's job when I don't know, I mean, we have a lot of Bible people, like this is a Bible belt where I am, so a lot of my people are like Bible, you know, practitioners and things like that. So when in the end of the book, or towards the middle end of the book, when it started to transition around the birth of Jesus time, it kept being spoken about a new heaven and a new kingdom, a new earth. And I don't think that people really tie together like how that story, you know, flows one into the other, because you got to remember in the Old Testament, they left a land seeking asylum in a new heaven and a new earth for a specific group of people. Then in the second part of it, it became about everybody. Okay. And the blending became understood to be blended together. And we know that this is a practitioner. This is the practice of practitioners of deception, in order to blend in a society where everybody is now grafted into themselves. And this is not the reality. Now, why I'm speaking about this and why I'm talking about these things is because it's important to understand where you're standing so that you can understand why we have so many different calamities or situations in the world that's happening all at once today. You have to understand where you're standing. So, in those times, the people of said then was Egypt, which we know Egypt was out west towards California way, Grand Canyon. It's a whole story about that. We have to break that down later. But those people were driven from that area into what is known as the southeastern part of the United States of America. Now, this is a part of the history that you really have to go digging for, because the majority of this history has been all but eliminated, and there's only been but remnants and clues left to piece together in order to understand the full picture. You understand? So most of the history of our people has been destroyed, and we have to understand this, and we have to take on the reality of learning more about ourselves with that understanding already in our mind. We've already are people that the remnant of who we were and how we stood has all but been destroyed, okay, by thine enemy. That's important to note. You got to have that note. So the frequencies of the planet, or the things that are going on, for instance, you see Donald Trump, okay? Let's just say this, because people have their biases about which way it should go or whatever, which other way it should go, right? You see Donald Trump. Now, if you take the emotional part off of it and just think about the type of things that were being transacted and the type of things that were going on underneath the term of Trump, the last time we had better tax breaks for business owners, small businesses, gas prices were lower, food prices were lower, housing was It was manageable. The corporate structure was more in order, more in alignment with the consumer structure. We had more resources available to us during that time. Okay. So yeah, antics aside, emotions aside, the structure of the society was actually beginning to form into something that we could build on. Okay. Now, ever since Trump has come out of office, let's just be honest now. You got to follow timelines here so everything can make sense, because we are talking about the destruction of a certain world in order to bring on the creation of a new world. This is all frequency. It's all about fulfilling a prophecy. And they're playing out real time. Okay, so after Trump left office, those that stood against the restructuring of the old way, those that stood against fulfilling contracts back to Aboriginal bloodline where genocide had been committed against certain groups of people inside of this continental mass, those that stood against black people being re-empowered if you call yourself black, those who stood against this thing immediately started to tear down the legacy, the name, the deeds, the doings, everything that had anything to do with Trump now became the enemy. Nobody questioned why. Now, we've seen what's happened whenever the media decides to vilify somebody, whether they're right or they're wrong. We've seen how that works. Most of us should be well understood on how this game works now. You know, it shouldn't really be too much sleight of hand anymore, because we've been studying it long enough to realize that the media is not the friend of certain groups of people or really anybody. It's all about agenda. Okay? So if the media has now made you the enemy, completely the enemy, and every time you turn around, your name is being slandered, tore down, ridiculed against, we got a new lawsuit. Trump said this negative. Y'all look at Trump negative about this. Oh, what is he saying now? Let's go ahead and carve this up and make it appear to be negative. This is the media. It's the world is a stage. You feel me? The world is a stage. So we're going to make this person look the worst as possible, right? Okay. Now fast forward down that timeline, because we all been seeing how that go, if you're paying attention to it or not. Now we're here in the year 2024. It's time for a new presidential election. Okay. I don't know if anybody has been noticing that a lot of the people who decided to jump out there and front run, like DeSantis, have now backed completely out. And Trump is slowly taking over every section that they said he would not have access to. He's now taking those sections. Okay. So in the place of the current front runners, and I'm gonna tell you how this works, because we're talking agenda, and see, sometimes it pays to have a break for your brain, so that way your mind can begin to declutter from your normal routine or activities, so that way you can start to pick up other frequencies. See, it's nothing for a person to be like laying down in bed one day and you done decided, you know what, I'm dog tired. I've been working for the past 4 years straight. I'm dog tired. I'm going to go ahead and just take me a week off, right? And in that week off, you say, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. And you laying there in the bed, and some people call it lazy, whatever. It's a break for you. But you laying there in the bed, and it just so happened that CNN is on your TV. You don't know how it got on there. You don't remember turning it on, but it's on there. And for some reason, your mind starts to cue in on what they're talking about. They passing legislator on this. This happened. That happened. What? This is going on in my government. This is what's going on. Because remember now, you're supposed to be at work during them hours. So this is something that you normally would not catch. Now, see, this is the way the spirit is shaping the world around certain people at this time. See, it's situational based. You won't, if you're not in tune with it, it won't. You can be sitting right in it and you won't see it because you're not in tune with it. But if you're in tune with it, you're going to be sitting right in it. You're going to understand where you are and when it's time to start downloading and picking up certain things. Okay? So the reason I'm saying that is to pay attention, but it's also going to give context to why I'm able to follow these timelines like this, because this is what happens to me. I can only really give the experience of what happens to me. So anyway, now fast forward, these people are dropping off of the presidential ballot because they don't want no parts. See, it's a prophecy that must be fulfilled. we haven't even started to talk about, you know what I'm saying, going into the cosmic world. Now, we're going to stay here for a second. And I'm going to show you the routine of thine enemy, okay? Because check this out. Now, all of a sudden, we got this female that started running. I keep forgetting her name. Let me see if I can find it right quick. Or if y'all know the name, just leave it in the comment section, because I always forget her name. But it's a new female, a Caucasian lady that's came from the ranks, and now she's running against Trump, right? Okay, cool, no problem, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can run if they decide to so call them forward out of nowhere. But let's pay attention to a couple of things. The men are backing down, okay? They don't want no parts. From corporate structure, corporate standpoint, they don't want no parts. They're backing down. Now all of a sudden we have this boosted female that comes on the scene. And if you listen to the way her campaign is set up, she's literally using the same antics that the media system has been using the whole way through since Trump has come out of office. Slander. I mean, even though we know they do that to each other, but go listen to it so you can understand where I'm coming from. Go listen to how she's saying it. It's exactly the same. It's the same exact rhetoric. It's the same exact rhetoric, okay? So that raises my antennas, because now I'm like, okay, you're literally taking on the form of the media in a human being. You're literally taking on the form of the media in a human form. So I'm looking at you like, okay, so who is this person appealing to? Because whenever you get like, you know what I'm saying, you get these things that make you go, like out there, you know what I'm saying, in the worldscape or whatever, you just got to stop and just think about the details surrounding the situation or the individual. You know what I'm saying? You think about the details surrounding it. Who are you trying to appeal to, really? You know what I'm saying? And so I sat there and just, you know, just watched for a second and looked, and then it clicked. I'm finna show you who she's trying to appeal to. Okay? There was a lady, let's see, just a second. I'll let you know exactly who I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. So there's a lady, and her name is, just a second. Her name is Senator Crockett. Okay, I don't know if y'all seen this video. It's on YouTube though. And Senator Crockett look, face it, she's Black Boule, okay? Because once you go into them areas of life and you get recruited for certain positions, mind you now, remember what we said now, the world is a stage and the media is his puppet. So look, now all of a sudden, at the same time as this female has jumped from the ranks to now run against Trump using slander and rhetoric, now also we have the black mammy figure screaming, belligerent, loud on a public forum inside of the Senate. When have they ever allowed that? I'll wait. Okay? So now this is what you're presenting to us, because this is making national headline news of her going off on them about Donald Trump and why he shouldn't be represented and why he shouldn't be supported by them and why they should be supporting the Democratic regime, which we all know the Democrats have never been about anything for this. It's never been about that. It's always been about the destruction. Now, some may argue and say, well, they both in the same pond, but you got to go read the rules. You see, the only reason they both in the same pond is because of the people that you allow in there. But you got to go read the rules for each department and what it's for. You understand? So, and we can break that down at another time. Y'all remind me. Leave that in the comments, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Democrat, the democracy versus the republic, and we'll talk about these things. Okay, so we can break it down. Then, when you understood, you can make what's called an educated guess, or not an educated guess, but you'll be more informed about your responses because you know what each position is supposed to entail and why. Okay, now, this black lady, so-called, is sitting up here going off on these people about why Donald Trump should not be here and this, that, and the third, and all this other kind of stuff. But if you really listen to what she's saying, she's speaking absolutely nothing. She's saying nothing. It's just real animated and big and rah, 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 rah. But she's not saying anything. So now I have to stop and look at her. Who are you targeting towards? Who are you supposed to be representing with your useless banter? Because there's no information in it that's any way accurate or that has any real context. You don't even know why you're saying the stuff you're saying. Oh, Donald Trump took $6 million from the Chinese. Why did he do that? Do you know? You can't answer that, then why are you speaking about that? That's useless information, lady. Okay, so why do these principles that don't want to uphold what has been done to the Aborigine in America have you sitting up there and you're the only black woman sitting in a sea of Caucasians? What is going on here? The world is a stage, okay? So whose vote are you trying to swindle away from this direction? Would it not be the women that look like you? Okay, so if it's the women that look like you whose vote you're trying to sway away from a certain individual, because let's face it, black women per capita are making some of the most money that they have ever seen black women make in well over what? It's been years and years and years. So you guys are open up to a whole nother industry base when it comes to financial literacy and financial and the wealth structure in America. Okay? Of course they're going to pull for your vote. Of course they're going to pull you away from where the tax breaks come from, where the lower gas come from, where the better rent wages come from. All of these things, they're going to pull you away from that, because if you are allowed to allow this individual back into office again, then the game is up. Okay? Now that's talking on a finite realm. Now look how far we had to speak. Look how much had to transpire and go around in a circle and go all the way through and interconnect all these different dots in order to understand just in a 3D perspective from a world base. So this lady running for office, she's pulling for the feminized, the feminism vote, LGBTQ, the feminist black woman, the feminist this, the anti, what is it, what they call it, toxic masculinity-based woman. They're pulling for these people, which in turn is going to get the black and brown woman to think that she's a part of this group, which has been toxic. See, now it's time for our women to sit down. You're being pulled into too many directions. You're being pulled into way too many directions. I was going to say something else, but I ain't going to cuss because it might be a little kid or something watching this out there. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't going to cuss till later on. But you're being pulled in so many different directions, my woman. And you guys don't even realize how that's affecting you, and especially from a mental perspective, you see, because our women are affected by what they see and hear. These are very strong entry points into the feminine aspect of mind. Very, very strong. What you see and what you hear. And we both know that both of those can be extremely deceptive. It's time for our women to sit back and sit down. And I don't say this from a disrespectful point of view, but if you can't even see your enemies, if you don't even understand who they are and why they are, where they're coming from and what direction. See, you understand there's a reason why they say this is a man's world, because the tricks, the systems, the isms, the osms, all these different, the pledging, the everything, the corporate structure is all consumed of the masculine principle. It's all been consumed of the masculine principle. Rules and engagement of war say that if you want to change a society, if you come and do genocide to a society and you want to change that society, you implement change through the woman and the child. They're going to be the least resistant. See, they're going to be the one. They're not going to resist you as hard as the man will. Interesting that they use that terminology. The woman and the child will not resist the change as hard as the man will. See? Our women need leadership again. And unfortunately, there's not very many of it out here. There's not very much of it. We have our certain occasions, but there's not very much leadership for our women. As a result of, they go seeking leadership from other means. Like what? Let me go amass as much money as I can. What does that mean? Nothing. You still have no protection. You still have no this. You still have no that. You see how they're lacking. Look, when they get online talking about all these aspects and different things that they want inside of a man, it's always all the things that they're lacking within themselves. Everything that they lack in their life is what they desire from the man. And they all have a list a mile long. You got a list a mile long. So where's the deception really being played at? Like, if we're in this world like this, let's just be honest here for a second and look at the numbers. Like, you know what I'm saying? If we're in this world like this, and and it's already been proven, it's already been studied that our women are outnumbering us, men now. I'm not talking about the kind that's going to go lay down with another man, the kind that's going to go running over there to a whole nother nation. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about actual men that's going to stand 10 toes down with you and you alone. If the numbers in those men, if they're not locked up in prison, gay, all this other kind of stuff going on, it's reduced enough to say that there's 10 to 1, 11 to 1, 12 to 1. What is that saying? Like, what does that mean? How can the man be the problem when he's outnumbered? See, you gotta understand something. This is why I'm saying, like, it's time for the women to sit back and sit down, because you don't understand what you're doing to yourself, and then after that, what you're doing to your society of people. How many times have you come on here and say, "I don't finna go get me a white man, give me a white man"? Now, mind you, I'm not saying that black men don't go get with white women, because they do it all the time. It's so accustomed that we see a certain type go get that. You know what I mean? They go run in that direction. But now it's never been a publicly displayed, "Oh, I'm about to go get me a white." It's not like that for a man. He just moved that way. You know what I'm saying? Because that's his preference. He just go that way. But for some reason, our women have to proclaim and display, let everybody know that F these dudes, F these ends, F these niggas, F these niggas. Display, proclaim. Everybody got to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's preparing the destruction? It don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? You have to proclaim all these things. Why? From a place of hurt, from a place of unfulfillment, and desiring for something that does not seem to be flowing in your direction. But there's a reason why when you're going to take a step back and look at self. See, look, there's documented video evidence of, study groups and different things that they would happen with, like teenage, girls all the way up until adulthood, where they would, say what their desire for their families was and how they wanted their family dynamic to be. Okay. Now, mind you, of course, I'm looking at who's doing the interviewing. Then I'm asking the question on where is this interview going after you finish documenting it. But that's a whole nother thing. I digress. So now you have to listen to what the women were saying, the black and brown women in that time. I don't need a man in my house. This was like the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Early 80s. I don't want no man in my house. No, I can do it by myself. Me and my kids, I can get me some kids. I'm cool like that. I'm good like that. I'm good like that. Okay. All right, cool. So that was their mindset, their outlook. Now, mind you their parents would have been on the tail end of the 1960s, 50s, plutonic black family, you know what I'm saying, sticking together, forming into a community. That type of thing would have been fizzling out with their parents because their children picked up a whole nother way of thinking. Okay? So I'm telling you that all of this is agenda. You got to understand this stuff doesn't just come around for naught. When you have toxic ways and toxic principles being spread amongst alkaline people, there's an issue. Okay? When people are naturally alkaline, copper is a naturally alkaline metal. It doesn't hold germs. It repels germs. It's naturally alkaline. The definition of an American is the copper races of America. So that means these people are naturally alkaline by their thinking, by their morals, by their eating habits, by their sexual habits. These people are naturally alkaline. But once placed into a continuously toxic environment, meaning that the systems that make the environment run are generating the toxicity around the clock, and it's all the toxicity is pointed in the direction of the alkaline people. It's only so much that the alkalinity can take before it folds to the toxic waste. It's going to fold. See? So when we see all these movies and things like this, like we got Avatar, we got, you know what I'm saying? All these different movies where they show the destruction of the original land in order that a new group of people can come in and take over and implement the toxic societies, Fern Gully, all these different type of movies that we've had, these instances that we've had, is all been towards a certain agenda. This is all very, very interesting because frequencies don't lie. It's all moving you towards a certain agenda. You implement the toxicity. Look at the St. John River down in South Florida. The river flows north, but every year they pollute it on purpose. Why? Because, like I was telling somebody that, well, I was saying that too. I forgot, but anyway, I told them that if you leave that river unpolluted, leave that river unpolluted, then Florida's natural frequency, or the frequency that goes in congruency with the city, the one that they say is lost of Atlantis, it begins to grow back again. See, you can't overtake nature. The only thing you can do is hold down the process or stifle the process only for a while. And this is what's been going on here in this world. And see, what we fail to realize is that the land is the people. So what happens to the earth is happening to the people at the same time. It's congruency. You see, you're being tricked and deceived mentally. Okay, the mind. Okay, so now what's going on? Oh, we're going to hijack the analog frequencies that are naturally conducive to the earth. We're going to hijack those and use those to create false storms, and we're going to create toxicity using the same analog signals. What is that going to do to the people? It's going to keep them from being able to break out of the matrix system. They can't see. So now the women are trying to take the lead in politics. How, Sway? You still have to go answer to the same one who's oppressing you in the first place. What progress are you making? Why do you want the position of your counterpart so bad when your position is being left unchecked or being left to those who are not in the same biological hemisphere as you are supposed to be? There's power there. Motherhood is being abandoned. Community is being abandoned. Storytelling and passing down through the generations, that is being abandoned in exchange for education and a full bank account. That's not your responsibility. Your job is not to have to go out into the world to go get it. You can do that on the side, but that's not your job. Because you have made that your job, now your man that you're looking for, man, look, he has to be in competition with you before he can love you properly. You think this is a natural, organic way of life between man and woman in our communities? No, we've forever and always been under attack, and it's never going to stop, because this is the only way that the system upholds itself. We have to remain under attack. You understand? So because this is a spiritual war that we're fighting, the wars of the spirit, okay? And we're in this 8 energy now in under 2024. It is time for reveal. Things are being revealed, all in the church, all in politics, in the corporate structure, in finance. We're learning, things are being opened up and revealed to us, even on the spiritual dimensions and in the spiritual reality. You see, Down in Miami, you got 10-foot tall beings that's coming out of the shadow structure. Why do you think that is? We've been talking about it. The veil is growing thin. We've been talking about this stuff. So at some point, it's going to begin to implement some type of action inside of the people before it's too late, or you find yourself stuck on certain frequencies, stuck on stupid. It's all about evolution and growth. Evolution and growth. Evolution means what? You be sitting here amidst a toxic society and you could be 42, 43 years old and you still look like you're 24 or 25 or 26 or 27, where everybody else around you is graying out and beginning to fizzle up and shrivel up and pass, and you walking through this thing untouched. What is going on? What type of frequency is that? You had the example in your hands. We in the Bible Belt. You've had the example in your hands this whole time, but you rather worship it than just be like it. Don't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. So we report to a building for a temporary satisfaction. We leave that building and we go get drained out because that's what the outside world does. Until you get onto the right frequency, then the outside world doesn't drain. You drain it. It's a new beginning. We're in a new paradigm, in a new wave is where we are, But it's up to the people to do the work to understand that for themselves. Nobody can walk your journey, just you. Only just you can walk your journey. So the people under the sound of my voice, only just you can walk your journey. That's it. So all the people around you that you say, I'm elevating, I'm doing these things, I'm going there. I can see the calamity unfolding before my eyes. Look, let me tell you something. Let me show you. I'm just wanted to be understood on how these things are working, because I told you about the sharks. We talked about the sharks and the orcas and how in Europe they're underneath the plagues of Egypt. They're going through those plagues again. So look, recently, you want to know why everybody leaving out of California? You have a military invasion that is going on in California right now. It's unspoken. It's only if you know how to follow the paperwork, you're going to see the trail. You have the same type of invasion like what happened with the Mongolians in the first aboriginal sectors of this landmass, okay? You have that invasion that's going on. So these people are coming over there, living in the houses. Everything's paid for. Look at what's going on with the Mexicans crossing the borders. They're coming over here. They're being sent to Chicago, to New York, to Detroit. Now all of a sudden there's this rash of robberies and people being held at gunpoint, people being robbed. They taking their cars. They breaking in people's houses. Who do you think those people are that they're sending over here? We talked about this too. Okay. Now remember, there were reports. The reports came out. This was maybe in October, November of last year. The reports came out. All of the Mexican prisons have been released. They've been granted asylum to go into to go north into the United States of America. They've been released. So now you see at the border, they overwhelmed with over what they said, 2,000 people per deputy, or 200 people per deputy. 200 people. Where did all them people come from? They're the prisoners. They're the prisoners. Of course they're not going to have no money. Of course they're not going to have no identification. Of course they're not going to have no type of paperwork. They were in prison. So you release the prisoners, and if you don't believe me, go do your paperwork. Go follow the paper trail. You release the prisoners, then you send them up in here to do what? To further disenfranchise. It's for a reason. The more of those bodies that you can get here. See, this is what I'm saying. Like these stories interconnect to each other because energy interconnects to itself. It's energy. There's a reason why all these things are happening. You bring these people over here, first of all, they're going to do one of two things. They're going to first begin to sway the population. Why is that important? Well, because over the past, what were they saying? I think it was over the past 2 generations. The past 2 generations alone, okay? Now, this is with all the cesarean sections, the black mothers dying at birth, babies not making it out the hospital, all of these things, right? Over the past 2 generations, our numbers have increased by 38%. Okay? 38%. And that's going according to how many babies are being born inside of the hospital dynamic. So they're reporting the births and the rates of the babies that are being born. Our numbers have increased by 38%. Everybody else's numbers are falling down. Remember I told y'all in France, they're not having children. They haven't had a baby being born. I think they had the first baby born like the first of this year. After so many years of no babies being born, like, come on, that's not normal. That's not normal. Okay? Now, I'm only showing you the perspective of how the frequencies are shifting because we're under a polar shift. We're under polar shifts. We're under climatic change. We are under frequent full moon energies. These things are celestial energies that are pulling in certain destructions and renewals. I'd rather call it a renewal because to some people, it's going to be the scariest thing on the planet. To other people, it's going to be extreme bliss because you're aware of what's going on and how you're being guided into a new perspective of understanding. Now, check this out. So these militaries came over here. They come pushing in, right? And they're pushing in through the West, okay? Because California is being abandoned now. You got to remember, a lot of people have left California. They moved out because they said it was too expensive. So they've been priced out. And then they had the drug epidemic that was going on in California, okay, and the homeless situation. There are sections of California, places in California, where every homeless person was rounded up and they disappeared from the streets, okay? That's a whole nother conversation. They just disappeared. Whole nother conversation. Anyway, the military's coming in, Asian, China, Japan, Russia, BRICS. Think about it, okay? Because they don't care about the American way. The frequency has been brought down far enough to where remember what I told you about electricity. When the frequency on electricity is extremely high, you can't touch it. When the frequency has fallen down, something that has been electrified, you can grab it with your hand and it won't affect you, okay? The frequency is being brought down enough to where infiltration can happen. However, the protections of the spirit still remain. Why do I say that? You guys just witnessed the flooding that's happened out there in California. Have you seen the devastation that's happened out there in California? Go take a look. What about all the mudslides and things that's going on in California? Go take a look. Have you guys been hearing about the planes falling out of the sky all over the planet? Go take a look. The things are happening all around us. You can't circumnavigate spiritual energy and cosmic vibration. When the vibration is set to a certain frequency, destruction must happen in order for renewal to begin. And see, it's only thine enemy that will lie to you and make you think that these things are normal in the world. These hard freezes and all these homeless people dying, their campsites being rolled over and bulldozed so that the freeze can come. All these things, it's an orchestration, okay? And we're moving according to cosmic numerology and numbers. We're moving according to numbers. It's a matrix system. So everything has to be perceived and given to the public or the general mass according to certain vibratory seasons or sessions within a certain time cycle. Okay? And we have to pay attention to these things because we're going to continue to be lost to these things until we pick the vibration back up. We got to re-energize. And unfortunately, the majority of our people are not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to do that. They're still inside the box. Remember now all the prodigies that they say you have to think outside the box. What is the box that they're talking about? What is this box? See, if you understand the principles of Saturn, that's why it's important to know, to understand astrology and numerology. See, when people start coming to you telling you that all this stuff is witchcraft, those are the people you run away from because they can't explain anything for it. This is witchcraft. You can't do this because this is God, this, that, and the third, XYZ. Yet and still, they'll go report to a building where somebody says you have to eat my flesh and drink my blood, okay? And you never said worship nobody. Never said, yo, y'all come get on your knees and pray and blow me up. Worship me and blow me up. Never said that. That never happened. But yet this is what you're doing, even though The God of your Bible says you shall have no other gods before me. And yet you're raising the help into a God status from ignorance. Okay, so let's come off the Christians. Let's go over here. Now, you want to tell me that this principle of this dynamic of blackness that we call the Yoruba standard, okay, which was made for the dynamic of melanation, okay, who are they worshiping? I keep asking y'all this all the time because it's literally there in their books who they're worshiping and where they came from. And if you're really studied of those things, then you know exactly where they came from. Oshun, Ogun, Yemiya, Obatala, those things are all American concept, because if you understood what was going on in the ancient time, then you understand the Atlantean principle, which you would have to take into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and also the Book of Enoch, because these principles are spoken about. So if you understand those principles, then you understand who gave the world its understanding on how to worship the cosmos, how to be involved in civilization. Who you worshiping? You don't understand. What are they pulling you for? You don't understand. Why are they bringing the Yoruba to you? Because without you is dead. What does that mean? Well, these are your cousins they're worshiping, don't you know? Don't you know they know where to come get the energy from? These are your cousins. So even though you're ignorant and you don't realize what you're doing, they know they can still come trick you into giving them energy. Now think about this. Look at your movie dynamics now and tell me if all of the American black actors have not been replaced by Africans. And I'll wait while we doing all this, talking about Wakanda and all this other kind of crap that we don't even understand. We don't even understand what we're doing. You steady giving your energy away. So therefore, your electrical charge has been weakened. As a result, now anybody can infiltrate and come touch you. This is not allegorical speaking. Go start researching it for yourself. Take the certain sections of the vibe or the live or whatever and break it down. Say, okay, I'm going to go look into this, see what this dude's talking about on this front. And just go see how far the rabbit hole take you. Then we come back and we talk about this stuff together, you know? Because that's really what it's all about. You know, learning how to grow together. You know, that's what it's all about. Things have changed. And they've changed, and the sad part about it is that the ones who are supposed to make you aware of the changes are not making you aware of the changes. They don't even know how. They don't know how to make you aware of the changes without the extreme reaction that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to continue to keep walking down the same alleyways. We're going to continue to keep walking into the same destructions, because it's up to you individually to decide that this stuff is not serving a purpose for me anymore. And then you begin to walk in a completely different path than what you were on yesterday. Now the individual has become changed. This is what the Bible's talking about. You have to change. The change is on the inside. It has nothing to do with what the world is doing. The world should not be able to change you. You're supposed to stay consistent. That's called faith. If the world can shift your mindset and shift your perspective and shift the way you think just based on, somebody coming forward and saying that Trump is this, that, and the third, when this man literally done showed you that he's literally here for the people, for the making America great again. The only way to make America great again, and the only time it was ever great, was when we were in control of it. See, and this is an understanding that our people need to understand. We don't know where we come from. We don't know who we are. We don't understand our dynamic or what the position is that we hold to this landmass. We don't understand. We don't get it. But it's all sitting right there in front of your face. All the contracts, all the treaties. Go pick up the Indian Treaty of 1866, which is what Martin Luther King was based on. Go pick it up and read it. All of the rules, everything is there for the Indians. The only problem is the Indians not calling themselves Indians. The Indians calling themselves Negroes and African Americans and blacks. So they can't tap into the birthright of carrying their name. They can't tap into it because they still calling themselves something that don't exist. They still acting like children. So because they're still acting like children, I guess we'll just tap into it and take it from them. We'll take the birthright that they're leaving unattended. It's so simple once you get to the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Once you can really break it open, you can see it. It's so simple. It's right in front of your face. But we've been taught to look against it. And if somebody comes forward to tell you about it, they're your enemy. But wait a minute, who's the one that's telling me that this is my enemy, but yet they're not making themselves seen to point out that why are they not facing the enemy? The so-called enemy. They should come face the enemy. If they're telling you that I'm the enemy for speaking this way, then shouldn't they come face me since I'm the enemy? Why are they leaving you to do it? See? They're leaving the public to do it. That's dangerous, man. You know? Be careful when you entertain the what they say, when you entertain angels and don't know it. This is real. It's all over the place. It's happening everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They leave it to the public to try to slander people's name and do all this extra stuff, but without the public even understanding, because the public don't even realize they don't even have education. They were never given an education. They were given training. You can only be educated of spiritual things because there is no education. There's only training. There's training. That's it. And regurgitation. There's no education. Because if you were educated, then you will be able to see, and you can't see. You can't even navigate the legal world, but yet you're being called into it every day. You got to go get a license. Got to go pay insurance. You got to go take care of this paperwork at the courthouse. You got to go do this over here at the hospital. It's all the legal world, but you weren't even taught how to navigate the legal world. So how can you tell me what I see versus what you can't see? You don't even understand the rules of the police. The certain things they're supposed to do. Do you know a police can never put his hands on an Indian? Never. It's in the rules. If he do, then he be hit with $100+ million fine. It's in the rules. But if you don't know, what they say about what you don't know, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it'll take you out of here. The timeline really close to the presidential election again, and Trump has his fingers all over it all. Exactly. That's right, Ms. T. Trump is already in it. Not to segue again, but you made a good point. He's already taken it over. It's like because see, what you have to understand is this, and I talk about this a couple of times, but you know what I'm saying, it sink in when we get like repetition or whatever. So when Trump never gave up the presidential seat, so it's only right that when you have an organic versus a computer program, that the organic is going to win, because the organic is closer to the creation of the computer program than the artificial intelligence is. So see, the artificial intelligence has to keep being in your face all the time, in order to make you think and feel like it is in control. When in actuality, it is the organic that is still yet in control and can only relinquish control to the artificial intelligence if it decides to do so. However, if the organic doesn't know or isn't aware that it's being controlled to a certain degree, then it will inadvertently give its power over to the inorganic. And that is what your enemies were hoping would happen. That with this person out of the way, we can get those people to give us complete control of them. Then we don't have to fulfill no contracts. Because remember now, when you sue the American government and lose, the American government lost the lawsuit against the Aborigine. Like I said last time, the Aborigine forgot who he is. He don't know who he is. So they out here killing each other. They out here going to the club. They out here buying the next pair of Jordans and Memphis juking and putting 24s on an Escalade. Those are the Aborigines of America, but they forgot. So now who's going to enforce the lawsuit? All we got to do is keep them distracted until the maturity date. You see? Oh, I've been telling y'all for months to go out here and go get this $6,400. I've been telling y'all for months to go out here and go get this $6,400. They still trying to get the money away. They still trying to get the money away, because if Trump get back in there, it's going to it's going to be a full-on expose. Heads going to roll. See? And this is all in agreement with the new paradigm coming online. It must be. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. See, these things we're going through, these things we seeing, these calamities and earthquakes and floods and tornadoes and cold freezes and all that, it's going to get much worse before it gets better. That's why it's important for us to put on the frequency. The frequency has to be right. Once the frequency has been made right, then you'll be navigated. Spiritual perspective and principle. You know what I'm saying? And that's all we're looking for at the end of the day. you know, new spiritual perspective, and a different principle. All right. So look, Mo, what you gonna do, man? Putting this out here on the airways. Mo, what you gonna do, man? So we're gonna see what she gonna do. If she don't come in next week, then I'm gonna have to invite somebody else up in here so we can have some conversation, because I enjoy conversation. I don't wanna be always sitting by myself all the time. But I am finna get out of here for today though. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been here for the hour doing my thing. I appreciate y'all tapping in, tuning in. I'm setting myself up with a StreamYard at the house too, so I can be like back and forth. And PJ, yeah, it's up, bro. I got everything coming in, so everything is running and working. I'm gonna be playing with it when I get home, so I'm gonna let you know how the electronics doing and all that. But yeah, so y'all stay up with me, man. It's still the same. If you got any questions, comments, building the brain podcast at gmail.com, y'all go ahead and send those there. Or you can just hit me directly. I'm, you know what I'm saying, Lucky Southwest Starworth on Facebook, YouTube, Luke1817. Just hit me up, man. I'll be there. And till next time, y'all take care of yourself. Peace.